The paraplegic millionaire wanted no help, only distance. The single mother accepted the job of bathing him out of necessity. In her touch, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. What began as duty turned into overwhelming passion. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us what city you're watching from. We continue. The morning sun ricocheted off the bulletproof glass of the Bradford mansion, creating small rainbows that danced across the Italian marble floor. Michael observed this spectacle of light through his master bedroom window, his hands gripping the arms of his wheelchair tightly. There was something ironic about all this beauty. The same glass that created that dance of colors also kept him isolated from the outside world, like a crystal fortress. At 45, Michael Bradford was the personification of success in society's eyes. CEO of one of the country's largest technology companies, his name was constantly printed in business magazines, and his decisions moved the financial market. However, on this particular morning, he was just a man trapped in a wheelchair, struggling to accept his new reality. The accident had happened 3 months ago, a rainy night, a miscalculated curve, and his life completely changed. The spinal injury left him without movement from the waist down, and the doctors were vague about his chances of recovery. Only time will tell, they repeated in their consultations, words he had memorized and was beginning to hate. Victoria, his fiancée, crossed the room with her high heels echoing on the floor. The metallic, rhythmic sound seemed to mark each second of discomfort between them. She was impeccably dressed, as always, but Michael noticed that she maintained a safe distance from the wheelchair, as if his condition were contagious. Michael, darling, I spoke with a very exclusive agency for caregivers. They recommended someone who should start today. Her voice sounded practical, businesslike, as if she were closing another contract. I can't continue missing social commitments to, well, you know. He remained silent, his eyes fixed on the horizon beyond the window. Victoria sighed, a sound that mixed impatience and relief at finally having said what she needed to. You can't continue like this, refusing help. You need someone specialized for these things. She vaguely gestured toward the bathroom. I can't be your nurse, Michael. It's not fair to me, to our relationship. Michael finally turned the chair to face her. His face, once known for its determined expression in business, now carried a mask of bitterness. Of course, Victoria, we can't stain your perfect image with your invalid fiancé's basic needs, can we? Don't be unfair, she protested, but her voice faltered. I'm trying to find the best solution for both of us. The silence that followed was interrupted by the doorbell. Victoria checked her designer watch and smiled, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. That must be her. I'll receive her and explain your needs. As he listened to Victoria's heels walking away, Michael closed his eyes. How had he reached this point? He, who had always controlled everything in his life, now needed help even for the most basic tasks. His parents had taught him from an early age that showing fragility was a sign of weakness, that success and power were the only metrics that mattered. Now, there he was, reduced to depending on strangers. Voices in the hallway caught his attention. One was Victoria's, clear and controlled as always. The other, softer and more melodious, was unfamiliar. Michael felt his body tense. He didn't want to meet the owner of that voice. He didn't want to accept that he needed her. The door opened slowly, and through it entered a woman who completely contrasted with the luxurious environment of the mansion. She wore simple clothes, but they were clean and well kept. Her brown hair was tied in a discreet bun, and her eyes were a deep green that seemed to carry stories that Michael, even with all his money, had never experienced. Good morning, Mr. Bradford. My name is Emily Parker, and I'll be your caregiver. Her voice was firm, professional, but there was a note of kindness that deeply irritated him. He didn't want kindness, he didn't need pity. Victoria took that moment to announce her departure. I have a charity lunch, she explained quickly, adjusting her designer bag on her shoulder. Emily is already aware of all your needs, darling. I'll be back tonight. The sound of Victoria's heels diminished down the hallway, leaving Michael alone with Emily. The silence that followed was dense, loaded with unspoken tension. Emily remained still, her hands crossed in front of her body, patiently waiting for some reaction from him. "You can leave," Michael finally said, his voice cutting like ice. "I don't need a babysitter." Emily didn't move. Her green eyes studied him with a calmness that disconcerted him. "I'm sorry, Mr. Bradford, but you do need one, and it's okay to need help." Emily observed the man before her, noting every detail that his rigid posture revealed. Even sitting in a wheelchair, Michael Bradford emanated an aura of authority that years of power had cultivated. His blue eyes, cold as a winter morning, stared at her with a mixture of contempt and challenge. "Miss Parker," he pronounced each syllable as if they were small knives. "I don't think I was clear enough. I don't need your services. You can inform the agency that you were not suitable for the position." A soft smile, almost imperceptible, appeared on Emily's lips. It wasn't the first time she had faced resistance from a patient, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. "Mr. Bradford, how about we start by establishing some truths? First, I'm not here out of pity. Second, your pride won't help you take a bath or dress yourself." Michael's expression hardened even more, if that was possible. His hands gripped the arms of the chair so tightly that his knuckles turned white. "How dare you?" "I dare because it's my job," Emily interrupted him, keeping her voice calm but firm. "And I'm very good at what I do. Now, by my calculations, it's past time for your morning bath. Where would you prefer to start? Bathroom or stretching exercises?" Michael was momentarily speechless, something that rarely happened in his life. This woman, with her simple clothes and direct manner, was challenging years of control and power that he had built. The most disturbing thing was that, somehow, she seemed completely immune to his hostility. "You're not going to give up, are you?" he asked after a moment of tense silence. "No," Emily answered simply, beginning to organize some items she had brought in her bag. "Now, about that bath." Michael watched as she moved around the room with a familiarity that bothered him. There was something about her presence that made him uncomfortable, not because of the invasion of physical space, but because of something deeper that he couldn't or didn't want to identify. "Why are you doing this?" he suddenly asked, his voice less aggressive but still suspicious. Emily stopped what she was doing and looked at him directly. "Because it's my job, as I already said." "No, it's not just that," Michael insisted. "Normal people would have given up after my first no." A different gleam passed through Emily's eyes, something between memory and determination. "Maybe I'm not a normal person, Mr. Bradford, and maybe you need someone like that right now." Before Michael could respond, a soft cell phone ring filled the environment. Emily took the device, quickly checked the message, and her face softened in a way that Michael had not yet seen. "My daughter," she explained without him asking. "Lily, 7 years old and an energy that could light up an entire city." It was the first time Michael saw something truly personal escape from that professional facade that Emily maintained. For a brief moment, he glimpsed something beyond. The caregiver, a mother, a woman with her own story, her own challenges. It must be difficult, he found himself saying, raising a daughter alone. Emily put the phone away and turned her attention back to him. No more difficult than sitting there, trying to push away all the people who want to help. The response hit him like a gentle slap, not because of aggressiveness, which didn't exist, but because of the truth it carried. Michael looked away, fixing it again on the window where the sun's rays continued their ballet through the glass. "The bathroom," he finally said, his voice lower. "I prefer to start with the bathroom." Emily nodded, without showing any kind of victory in her small advance. She moved behind the wheelchair with precise and professional movements. "Excellent choice, and Mr. Bradford?" "Yes, this will get easier, not today, not tomorrow, but it will." As he was led to the bathroom, Michael allowed himself to consider those words. He wasn't ready to believe them, but something in the way they were said, without pity, without empty promises, planted a small seed of possibility in his hardened heart. The steam filled the luxurious bathroom as Emily adjusted the water temperature. It was her third day working at the Bradford mansion, And although Michael still maintained his defensive posture, small changes were beginning to appear. He no longer protested as much during basic procedures, even if his silence was still loaded with tension. "The water is at the ideal temperature," Emily announced, moving efficiently to help him transfer from the wheelchair to the shower chair. Her movements were precise, professional, but gentle. "Ready?" Michael nodded briefly, his jaw tense. It was visible how these moments of vulnerability affected him. For a man who had built his life on foundations of control and power, depending on someone for something as basic as a bath was a daily ordeal. During the procedure, Emily noticed an old scar on Michael's back near his right shoulder. It was different from the recent marks from the accident. This one seemed to have years, decades perhaps. Without thinking much, she asked, "This scar, it seems old." Michael's body became even more rigid, if that was possible. For a moment, Emily thought he would ignore the question, as he did with so many others. But then, his voice emerged, low and loaded with an emotion that she had not yet witnessed. "I was 12, he began, surprising himself with the desire to speak. "My father, he had very specific ideas about how to raise a strong son. That day I made the mistake of crying after losing a swimming competition." Emily continued her gentle movements with the sponge, but her ears were attentive. There was something in that story that explained a lot about the man Michael had become. "He took me to his office," Michael continued, his voice distant as if revisiting that moment. "Said that real men don't cry, that showing emotion was a sign of weakness. Then he pushed me against the bookshelf. One of the metal ornaments cut me, but I couldn't cry. I didn't cry." The silence that followed was heavy, loaded with untold memories. Emily felt her heart tighten, but kept her voice professional. "Some scars take longer to heal than others." "I don't need your cheap psychology," Michael retorted, but his voice had lost some of its usual hostility. Emily smiled softly as she rinsed his back. "So it's not psychology, Mr. Bradford. It's life experience. I have my scars too." For the first time since she had started working there, Michael looked at her with something different from disdain or distrust. It was curiosity, perhaps even a beginning of understanding. "Lily," he said after a moment, "your daughter, her father, is no longer in the picture," Emily completed, beginning to dry Michael with the soft towel. "Some people enter our lives only to leave scars and lessons." The rest of the bath proceeded in a silence different from the previous ones. It was no longer a silence of battle, but of reflection. When Emily helped him dress, Michael noticed how her movements were efficient without being mechanical, careful, without being condescending. Back in the bedroom, while Emily organized the morning medications, the sound of a child's laughter echoed through the hallway. Michael noticed how Emily immediately lit up, even trying to maintain her professional posture. "Lily," she explained, an involuntary smile appearing on her lips. "The babysitter must have arrived with her from school. On Wednesdays, she comes, straight here after class." "You bring your daughter to work?" Michael asked, a hint of his old arrogance returning to his voice. "Not by choice," Emily responded calmly. "But today, the regular babysitter had an unavoidable commitment, and I couldn't arrange another solution. I promise she won't disturb." Before Michael could respond, the bedroom door opened and a small hurricane of energy and smiles invaded the environment. Lily, with her colorful backpack and misaligned braids, stopped abruptly when she saw Michael. "Hi," she exclaimed with the simplicity characteristic of children. "Are you the guy in the cool chair that my mum takes care of?" "Lily!" Emily gently reprimanded her, but Michael surprised everyone, including himself, with a response. "Yes, I am, Michael Bradford, and you must be Lily." The girl's eyes sparkled. "Your chair has buttons. It looks like a spaceship." She approached, curious but stopped at a respectful distance. "Can I see how it works?" Emily was about to intervene when Michael, to her surprise, nodded slightly. "Of course, but only if your mother allows it." The smile that Lily gave illuminated the room, more than any sun ray that had ever crossed those bulletproof windows. Emily observed with a mixture of surprise and emotion as her daughter listened attentively to Michael explain the basic controls of the motorized chair. In that moment, something subtle changed in the air of the mansion. It was as if a small crack had formed in the walls that Michael had built around himself, letting in not only the sunlight, but also the possibility of human warmth. Lily's presence brought a subtle but noticeable change to the mansion's routine. In the following days, Michael found himself paying attention to the sounds of small footsteps and occasional laughter that came from the hallway. It was as if the child's energy had found a way through the thick walls and the established silence. Victoria, on the other hand, seemed increasingly distant. Her visits, which were already brief, became even shorter and more perfunctory. That particular afternoon, she appeared dressed for yet another social event, her expensive perfume preceding her entrance into the room. "Michael, darling, how are you?" she asked, staying close to the door. Her eyes scanned the environment, noticing small changes: a children's book forgotten on the table, a colorful drawing discreetly pinned to the board that previously only displayed financial reports. "Still in a wheelchair, Victoria?" he replied, his tone more tired than bitter. "But I imagine you didn't come to check on my condition." Victoria adjusted her designer bag, a gesture that Michael already knew as a sign of discomfort. "Actually, I came to let you know that I'll need to travel. A weekend in Aspen with the club girls. You know how important these events are for maintaining our social contacts." Michael observed his fiancée, noticing how she avoided his direct gaze, how her perfectly manicured nails drummed on the expensive bag. There was a time when this sight enchanted him. The studied perfection, the calculated elegance. Now everything seemed terribly superficial. "Of course," he replied simply. "Have fun." An uncomfortable silence settled between them, filled only by the distant sound of Emily talking with Lily in the hallway. Victoria frowned slightly upon hearing the voices. "Michael," she began hesitantly, "don't you think you're allowing too much intimacy with the employee and her daughter? I mean, it's important to maintain professional boundaries." Before Michael could respond, Lily burst through the door, her eyes shining with excitement. "Uncle Michael, look what I learned at school today." She stopped abruptly upon seeing Victoria, her smile faltering a little. Emily appeared shortly after, clearly embarrassed. "I'm sorry, Miss Victoria, Mr. Bradford. Lily, what did we talk about knocking on doors?" "Sorry, Mum," the girl mumbled, but her eyes still shone with the news she wanted to share. To everyone's surprise, especially Victoria's, Michael gestured for Lily to approach. "Come here, little one. Tell me what you learned today." Lily's face lit up again. She ran to the wheelchair, holding a colorful paper. "We learned about the solar system. Did you know that Pluto isn't a planet anymore? I made a drawing of all of them." Victoria observed the scene with an impossible-to-decipher expression. Michael, the man she had known for years, was smiling, a small but genuine smile, while a child animatedly explained about planets and stars. "I need to go," Victoria announced abruptly. "I have a lot to organize for the trip." She left, without waiting for a response, her heels echoing down the hallway like a reminder of her increasingly distant presence. Emily made a motion to take Lily, but Michael stopped her with a gesture. "Let her finish the explanation," he said, his voice softer than normal. "After all, I need to get updated on this story about Pluto not being a planet anymore." As Lily continued her enthusiastic explanation, Emily observed the interaction with a mixture of emotions. There was something deeply touching about seeing how her daughter, with her innocence and natural joy, managed to cross barriers that adults took years to break down. "Mom," Lily called, interrupting Emily's thoughts, "can I show Uncle Michael that massage trick you taught me? The one you say helps muscles not be sad?" Emily hesitated, looking at Michael for approval. To her surprise, he nodded slightly. "Are your muscles sad today, Uncle Michael?" Lily asked with the seriousness that only a 7-year-old can have. "Very sad," he replied, and there was something in his voice that made Emily's heart tighten. It wasn't just a response to please a child. There was truth there, an admission of vulnerability that he would never allow with adults. Lily began her special massage on Michael's shoulders, her small hands moving with surprising care. Emily observed how his tense muscles began to relax, not so much from the touch itself, but from the purity of the moment. "Did you know that shooting stars aren't actually stars?" Lily continued, her small hands still working. "They're little pieces of rock that fall from the sky, but the teacher said we can still make wishes when we see one." "And what would your wish be?" Michael asked, his voice soft in a way that Emily had never heard before. Lily stopped the massage for a moment, thoughtful. "I wish that all sad muscles would be happy again, yours and everyone else's." Emily saw something sparkle in Michael's eyes. Was it a contained tear? But before she could be sure, he had blinked, and his expression returned to normal. However, something had changed. It was as if Lily's innocence had found a crack in that armor, so carefully constructed. The mansion seemed different during the night. The empty corridors echoed with memories of the day, and the silence had an almost palpable quality. Emily had started doing some night shifts at Victoria's request, who was increasingly absent, especially on weekends. On that particular night, while organizing Michael's medications on the nightstand, Emily noticed that he was particularly restless. His fingers drummed on the arm of the chair, a habit she had noticed emerge when something bothered him. "You don't need to stay," he said abruptly, breaking the silence. "I'm sure your daughter needs you more than I do." Emily continued her task calmly. "Lily is fine. She's with my mother today." She paused, studying his face. "But you're not fine, are you?" Michael looked away to the window, where the full moon cast shadows on the impeccable garden. "I received a call today from the doctor." Emily felt her heart accelerate, but kept her voice controlled. "And what did he say?" "That there's a possibility," Michael responded, his voice low. "A small chance of regaining some movement with intensive physical therapy. Not total, but—" He stopped, as if the words were too difficult. "But it's a chance," Emily completed softly. "Victoria thinks it's not worth it," he continued, bitterness tinging his voice. "Said it would be too exhausting, that I should accept my condition with dignity. As if there's dignity in giving up without trying." Emily approached the chair, positioning herself where he could see her. "And what do you want to do?" The question caught Michael by surprise. It had been so long since someone cared about what he really wanted, not just what was most convenient or appropriate. "I want to try," he admitted, his voice gaining strength. But? "I'm afraid," he confessed, the words coming out as if they were being torn away. "Afraid of trying and failing, of nurturing hopes and discovering that not all the control in the world can guarantee the outcome we want." Emily completed gently. Michael looked at her, truly looked at her, as if seeing her for the first time. "How do you manage?" "How do I manage what?" "To be strong, to raise a daughter alone, work, smile, even when everything seems so difficult." Emily smiled softly. "I'm not strong all the time, Mr. Bradford. No one is. The difference is that I've learned to accept help when I need it." A soft notification sound interrupted the conversation. Emily checked her phone, an involuntary smile appearing on her lips. "Lily?" Michael asked, and there was something different in his voice when he mentioned the girl. "Yes." Emily showed the phone screen, where a photo of Lily hugging a teddy bear shined. "She wanted to show you her new friend. Said he also helps sad muscles become happy." Michael felt something warm and uncomfortable in his chest, an emotion that he had long learned to suffocate. "Your daughter, she's special." "Yes, she is," Emily agreed, putting the phone away. "You know what she told me the other day? That she wanted to be a physical therapist when she grows up. Said that way she could help people like you find their strength again." The silence that followed was different from the previous ones. It wasn't heavy or tense, but full of unspoken possibilities. "Emily," he called, using her first name for the first time since she had started working there. Would you help me? With the physical therapy, I mean. I know it's not your obligation, but..." "Of course I'll help," she responded without hesitation, "and I'm sure I'll have a very enthusiastic assistant." Michael felt an involuntary smile form on his lips. "Your little physical therapist in training." "Exactly, and believe me, Mr. Bradford, when Lily sets her mind to something, Michael, he interrupted her. You can call me Michael. Emily nodded, understanding the weight of that permission. It wasn't just a matter of name, it was a barrier being torn down, a wall crumbling. So, Michael, she said, testing the name, how about we start tomorrow? Lily has a new exercise she learned on the internet, something about toe dancing. For the first time in a long time, Michael laughed, a genuine sound, no longer bitter or forced. Your daughter is as persistent as her mother, isn't she? Oh, you haven't seen anything yet, Emily smiled, beginning to prepare things for the night. When she decides to help someone, there's no force in the universe that can make her give up. As Emily continued her nightly tasks, Michael watched the moon through the window. Something had changed that night, not just regarding physical therapy or his condition, but in his heart. It was as if, for the first time since the accident, he saw a path ahead, not just a dead end. Michael's office had been transformed into an improvised physical therapy room. Financial reports and spreadsheets gave way to mats and exercise equipment. Lily had insisted on decorating one of the walls with her colorful drawings, creating what she called the victory wall. 5 more minutes, Emily guided, while assisting. Michael with his morning exercises. Her firm hands supported him as he struggled to maintain the position. You're doing very well. Sweat trickled down Michael's forehead, but there was determination in his eyes. 2 weeks had passed since they started intensive physical therapy, and although the progress was small, it was steady. Uncle Michael, Lily came running into the room, still in her school uniform. I brought a surprise for you. Emily made a motion to reprimand her daughter for interrupting the session, but Michael shook his head slightly, indicating that he didn't mind. In fact, Lily's interruptions had become his favorite moments of the day. What did you bring, little one bun? He asked, as Emily helped him sit more comfortably. Lily opened her backpack with a dramatic flourish and pulled out a colorful object. It's an origami. The teacher taught us today it's a crane. She said in Japan they believe cranes bring good luck and grant wishes. Michael took the paper bird carefully, noticing the folds that weren't always perfect, but were made with such care that they seemed special precisely because of their imperfections. Lily spent her entire recess making this, Emily commented, a proud smile on her face. Said it needed to be perfect for Uncle Michael. And it is perfect, Michael affirmed, making Lily's eyes shine with happiness. The moment was interrupted by the sound of heels in the hallway. Victoria appeared at the door, her expression closing when she saw the scene. Michael sitting on the mat, Emily at his side, and Lily practically jumping with joy. Michael, we need to talk, she said, her tone making it clear that the conversation would be private. Emily immediately understood the message. Come on, Lily, time for a bath and homework. But Mum, Lily began to protest. No buts. Emily was firm but gentle. We can come back later to show Uncle Michael the rest of the surprises, okay? Lily nodded reluctantly, but before leaving, she ran up to Michael and whispered something in his ear that made him smile. Victoria waited until Emily and Lily left to fully enter the room. What is all this? She asked, gesturing to the physical therapy equipment and the drawings on the wall. This, Victoria, is hope, Michael replied, his voice calm but firm. Something you seem to have forgotten exists. Victoria sighed, sitting down in a nearby chair. Michael, be realistic. You're clinging to false hopes, and worse, you're allowing that employee and her daughter to create an inappropriate intimacy. Inappropriate, Michael repeated, a tone of indignation growing in his voice. You know what's inappropriate, Victoria. It's your fiancé spending more time at social events than with you. It's being afraid to show that you need help. It's denying yourself the chance to improve because it doesn't fit into the perfect image you've built. Victoria was momentarily speechless, shocked by the outburst. Michael had never spoken to her in that manner. You're different, she finally said, her voice a mixture of accusation and surprise. Yes, I am, he agreed, and for the first time since the accident, I actually feel alive. It's because of her, isn't it? Victoria asked, her eyes narrowing. The caregiver. Michael held the crane that Lily had made, his fingers tracing the folds of the paper. It's because of many things, Victoria. It's because of a girl who sees hope where adults see only limitations. It's because of a woman who taught me that needing help isn't weakness. But mainly, it's because of myself. Because I finally understood that there's more to life than control and appearances. Victoria stood up abruptly, adjusting her designer skirt. You are no longer the man I committed to marry. No, Michael agreed, surprising her. I'm not. And maybe that's not a bad thing. When Victoria left, the sound of her heels echoing down the hallway seemed different, no longer like a reminder of status and power, but like the sound of something ending, of one chapter closing so another could begin. Michael looked at the crane in his hands, thinking about Lily's words before she left. I made a wish for your crane, Uncle Michael. I wished for your heart to become as strong as you're getting. He smiled, realizing that somehow that wish was already coming true. The news of the broken engagement between Michael and Victoria spread quickly through the social circles of Boston. As expected, the version circulating at charity events and club lunches was considerably different from reality. Victoria had positioned herself as the dedicated fiancée who was replaced by an opportunistic employee. Emily noticed the change in the attitudes of the other mansion employees. The sidelong glances, the whispers in the hallways, the veiled discomfort. But she maintained her professional posture, focused only on her work and Michael's progress. You don't have to put up with this, Michael commented one morning after, witnessing one of the older maids refuse to greet Emily. I can fire all of them. Emily smiled as she adjusted the equipment for the, physical therapy session. And feed even more rumors? No thank you. Besides, gossip is like storm clouds. They eventually pass. You always have an optimistic analogy for everything, don't you? Michael asked, a reluctant smile appearing on his lips. Not always, she admitted, helping him position himself on the mat. But I've learned that bitterness only brings more bitterness. And I have a little observer who absorbs everything I do. As if invoked by the mention, Lily appeared at the door, her normally cheerful face carrying a worried expression. Mom? Can I come in? Emily immediately noticed that something was wrong. Of course, honey, what's wrong? Lily entered, hugging her school notebook against her chest. At school, some children said things about you and Uncle Michael. Michael felt his heart tighten at seeing tears forming in the girl's eyes. Emily approached her daughter, kneeling to be at her height. What things, Lily? They said that you're a homewrecker, Lily sobbed, the words coming out with difficulty. That you made Uncle Michael send Miss Victoria away because you wanted his money, and that we're opportunists. Emily closed her eyes for a moment, breathing deeply. When she opened them again, there was a serene determination in her gaze. Lily, come here, sit here with me and Uncle Michael. The girl obeyed, still holding her notebook as if it were a shield. Remember when you asked me why the sky is blue? Emily began, surprising both Lily and Michael with the apparent change of subject. Lily nodded, sniffling. And remember what? I explained to you about how sunlight passes through the air, how some people only see the blue, but there are actually many more colors there. Yes, Lily responded quietly. You said that sometimes we need to look more carefully to see the whole truth. Exactly, Emily smiled, wiping a tear from her daughter's face. What those children said is like looking only at the blue in the sky. They don't know the whole story. They don't see all the colors. Michael, who had remained silent, felt something break inside him upon seeing Lily's suffering. Little one, he called softly, come here. Lily approached the wheelchair, still hesitant. Do you know why your mother is the best caregiver I could have? He asked, his voice gentle. It's not because she knows how to do the exercises right, or because she helps me with the medications. It's because she taught me, and you too, that there are different types of strength and that sometimes being strong is knowing when to ask for help. But what about Miss Victoria? Lily asked, her voice small. Sometimes, Michael responded, choosing his words carefully. People discover that they're not as right for each other as they thought. It wasn't anyone's fault. Not your mother's, not mine, not Victoria's. Emily observed the interaction with a tight heart, but also with a silent pride in how Michael was handling the situation. You know what else? Michael continued, picking up the crane that Lily had made, which now occupied a place of honor on his desk. Some people only see a paper bird here, but I see love, dedication, and hope. It's like your mother said, sometimes we need to look beyond the obvious to see the truth. Lily finally smiled, a small but genuine smile. Can I make more cranes? One for each color of the rainbow? Of course you can, Michael responded, feeling a familiar warmth in his chest at seeing the sparkle return to her eyes. And can you teach me how to make them too? I think my fingers need that kind of exercise. Emily watched as Lily, now more animated, began to explain to Michael the steps to make a crane. The storm hadn't completely passed. There were still many clouds on the horizon. But there, in that moment, with her daughter smiling again and Michael demonstrating a gentleness that few knew, she knew they would find a way to get through any tempest that came. Autumn arrived, bringing with it a cooler breeze and small changes that, added together, made all the difference. Michael had progressed significantly with physical therapy. Now he could slightly move his toes and felt more sensitivity in his legs. Each small achievement was celebrated with the same intensity by Lily, who kept a victory diary meticulously, decorated with stickers and colorful drawings. On that particular afternoon, something special was about to happen. The professional physical therapist who was following the case had authorized Michael's first attempt to stand up with the aid of parallel bars. Emily had prepared everything carefully, transforming the moment into a small celebration. "All ready," she announced, checking one last time if the bars were firm. "Remember, no rush and no pressure. Today is just a test." Michael nodded, his eyes fixed on the bars. Lily, who had insisted on being present, held her special physical therapy assistant clipboard, gift that Michael had specially made for her, complete with her name engraved in golden letters. "Can I do the countdown, Uncle Michael?" Lily asked, barely containing her excitement. "It couldn't be any other way, little doctor," he responded, a nervous smile on his lips. Emily positioned herself next to the wheelchair, ready to assist. The physical therapist, Dr. James, was on the other side, observing attentively. "3, Lily began, her voice clear and confident. 2, 1. Now, with the help of Emily and Dr. James, Michael began to rise from the chair. His arms trembled with the effort, and drops of sweat began to form on his forehead. For a moment it seemed that his legs wouldn't respond, but then, "You're standing," Lily exclaimed, almost dropping her clipboard. "Uncle Michael, you're standing." It was true. With the support of the bars and the help of the professionals, Michael was standing for the first time in months. The sensation was surreal, as if he was simultaneously extremely heavy and impossibly light. "How do you feel?" Emily asked softly, her hands still offering firm support. Michael tried to find words to describe the moment, but all seemed inadequate. Instead, silent tears began to stream down his face, tears that for the first time in his life he didn't try to hide. Lily, perceiving the emotion of the moment, put down her clipboard and carefully approached. "Uncle Michael, don't cry," she said, taking his hand that was holding the bar. "Look, I brought something special for today." With her free hand, she took from her school uniform pocket a small golden crane. "I made it with special paper. The teacher said gold represents victory." Michael squeezed Lily's small hand, feeling as if his heart could explode with emotion. "Thank you, little one," he managed to say between tears. Emily observed the scene with her own eyes welling up, remembering the bitter and closed-off man she had met months ago. The transformation wasn't just physical, it was something much deeper. "I think that's enough for today," Dr. James gently suggested after a few minutes. "We don't want to overdo it on the first day." With the same care, they helped Michael back to the chair. He was exhausted, but there was something different in his eyes, a gleam of achievement, of possibility. "I need to record this in the diary," Lily exclaimed, running to get her special notebook. "Today is a historic day." While the girl diligently wrote in her diary, decorating the page with golden stars, Emily busied herself with checking Michael's vital signs and ensuring he was comfortable. "Emily," he called softly when she leaned over to adjust his pillow. "Yes?" "Thank you," he said, his voice loaded with emotion, "for not giving up on me when I had already given up on myself." Emily smiled, fixing a strand of hair that had fallen over his eyes. It wasn't just me. We have a little warrior over there who never doubted for a second. Lily, as if feeling they were talking about her, looked up from her diary. I know. Let's have a golden crane party to celebrate. A party? Michael asked, raising an eyebrow. Yes. Lily continued, excited. With golden cake and everything. Mum makes the best carrot cake in the world, and we can hang all the cranes we made on the ceiling like stars. Emily was about to contain her daughter's enthusiasm, but Michael surprised her. You know what, Lily, I think it's a great idea. In fact, he paused, looking at Emily with a shy smile. How about we do this next Saturday? We can invite Dr. James too. What do you think, Emily? The casual invitation carried a weight that didn't go unnoticed by Emily. It was more than an invitation to a party. It was Michael opening the doors of his life, his home, his heart, even more. I think it's perfect, she responded, feeling her heart slightly accelerate under his gaze. Lily began to jump with joy, already planning out loud all the details of the decoration. Dr. James smiled, observing the scene with professional and personal approval. And there, in that room that had witnessed so many transformations, another small change was happening, silent but as profound as all the others that preceded it. Saturday morning dawned with a different energy in the mansion. The aroma of freshly baked carrot cake filled the air, mixing with the smell of fresh coffee. Emily had arrived early to prepare everything for the small celebration, with Lily in tow, carrying a box full of golden cranes they had made during the week. Mum, look, Lily called from the top of the stairs, where she was helping one of the maids hang the paper birds. It looks like a shower of stars. Emily smiled, observing how her daughter had somehow managed to win over even the most resistant staff members of the house. It was impossible not to be infected by her genuine joy. The sound of the doorbell interrupted the moment. It must be Grandma, Lily exclaimed, carefully descending the stairs, one of the many things Michael had insisted on teaching her. But it wasn't Martha, Emily's mother, who was at the door. It was an elegant woman, with a haughty posture and severe look, whom Emily immediately recognized from the photos in Michael's office, his mother, Eleanor Bradford. So it's true, Eleanor said, her eyes scanning Emily from head to toe. My son really replaced Victoria with this. Good morning, Mrs. Bradford, Emily responded calmly, maintaining her dignity. Michael is in the office. I can accompany you there. That won't be necessary, Eleanor cut her off, entering the house as if she still owned it. I know the way quite well in what I still consider my house. Lily, who was observing the scene from the foot of the stairs, ran to Emily, grabbing her hand. There was something about Eleanor's presence that made even the cheerful Lily shrink. First armed in the office, Michael was finishing a series of exercises when his mother entered. He froze at seeing her, years of conditioning automatically making his posture straighten. Mother, he said, his voice tense. What a surprise. Surprise, Eleanor repeated with irony. The surprise was mine when I discovered that my only son had completely lost his mind. First, he ends his engagement with Victoria, a family girl raised like us, and now this, transforming the Bradford mansion into a circus with childish decorations and an employee practically living here? Michael breathed deeply, seeking the strength he had discovered in recent months. Mother, things have changed. I've changed. Yes, I noticed, Eleanor responded with acidity. Changed for the worse. Your father would be ashamed. Dad was always ashamed, Michael retorted, surprising his mother with the firmness in his voice. Nothing I did was ever good enough. Not my perfect grades, not my trophies, not my success in business. And you know what? I spent years trying to prove my worth to you both, forgetting to actually live. Eleanor paled slightly. How dare you? Everything we did was for your good, to make you strong. No, Mother. Michael shook his head. You made me cold. There's a difference, and I had to lose the movement in my legs to finally see that. A soft sound at the door made them both turn. Lily was there, holding her latest golden crane, with Emily right behind her. I'm sorry, Michael, Emily said. We didn't mean to interrupt. Uncle Michael, Lily called, her voice small but determined. I made another special one for today. Can I come in? Before Eleanor could protest, Michael smiled. "Of course you can, little one, come here." Lily entered, passing by Eleanor as if she were just another shadow on the wall. She approached Michael and gave him the crane. "This one has a special wish," she explained. "I wish that everyone could see what I see when I look at you." "And what do you see, dear?" Michael asked softly, aware of his mother's penetrating gaze. "I see the strongest man I know," Lily responded, with the unique sincerity of children. "Not because you can stand at the bars or because you have a big house, but because you learn to be better every day. My mom says that's true strength." Emily, who was observing the scene with a tight heart, saw something change in Eleanor's face. It was subtle, a tremor in the lip, a different gleam in the eye. "Michael," Eleanor began, her voice less firm, "are you really happy like this?" Michael looked at the crane in his hands, at Lily with her sincere smile, at Emily with her gentle eyes. "For the first time in my life, Mother, I'm really happy. Not because I achieved some goal or kept up appearances, but because I finally understood that strength isn't the absence of weakness. It's knowing to accept help when we need it." A heavy silence fell over the office. Eleanor seemed to be internally fighting with something she couldn't express. Finally, she moved toward the door. I need to think," she said, her voice betraying an emotion that she rarely showed. "But Michael." "Yes, Mother. Maybe you're right. About some things." When Eleanor left, Lily turned to Michael with curious eyes. "She seems sad." "Sometimes," Michael responded, pulling the girl into a hug. "People need time to learn the same lessons you taught me so easily, little one." Emily observed the scene, feeling a mixture of emotions. There was a family rebuilding itself in a way that no one could have predicted. Not through blood ties or social conventions, but through small gestures of love and understanding. The Golden Crane party happened anyway, perhaps even more significant after Eleanor's unexpected visit. Dr. James arrived, bringing more good news. The most recent exams showed a significant improvement in the sensitivity of Michael's legs. The room was decorated with dozens of golden cranes hanging from the ceiling, creating dancing reflections with the late afternoon light. Martha, who had finally arrived, animatedly conversed with Dr. James about Michael's progress, while Lily proudly showed her victory diary to anyone who wanted to see. Emily was in the kitchen, giving the final touches to the cake when Michael appeared, maneuvering his chair with a skill he had developed in recent months. "Need help?" he asked, a smile playing on his lips. "You just want to steal the frosting," she responded, laughing. "Lily already told me about your tactics." "Guilty," he admitted, coming closer, "but actually I wanted to talk to you." Something in his tone made Emily stop what she was doing and turn around. Michael was different. There was an intensity in his gaze that she knew well, but it had never been directed at her in this way. "Emily," he began, his voice softer than normal, "these last few months, you and Lily, you've changed my life in a way I never imagined possible." "Michael," she tried to interrupt, but he raised his hand. "Please, let me finish. My whole life was built on control and appearances. Even with Victoria, it was all programmed, calculated. But then you arrived with your silent strength and your extraordinary daughter, and you taught me that there are other types of strength, other types of love." Emily felt her heart accelerate. "Michael, I'm your caregiver. It wouldn't be ethical." "What wouldn't be ethical is ignoring what's happening between us," he gently interrupted her. "It wouldn't be honest to pretend that I don't feel my heart beat differently when you're around, or that I don't miss you two every minute when you're not here." A noise at the door made them both turn. Lily was there, with a smile that went from ear to ear. "Finally," she exclaimed, running to hug them both. "It was taking so long." "Lily," Emily reprimanded, but couldn't contain a smile. "Were you listening at the door?" "No," the girl responded with comic seriousness. "I was waiting at the door. It's different." Michael laughed, that genuine laugh that had now become more frequent. "And what do you think about all this, little one?" Lily looked from one to the other, her eyes shining with wisdom beyond her years. "I think that sometimes the best families are the ones we choose, like in fairy tale books, you know. Only better because it's real." Emily felt tears forming in her eyes. "Lily, Besides, the girl continued, now with a mischievous smile, Uncle Michael is practically my dad already. He helps me with homework, teaches me cool things, and even scolds me when I run on the stairs. Michael felt his heart swell with Lily's words. He extended his hand to Emily, who hesitated only for a moment before accepting it. I'm not asking you to stop being my caregiver, he said softly. I'm asking you to let me take care of you both too, for us to be a family, as Lily said, in our own way. But your mother, society. People will talk, Emily began. Let them talk, Michael responded firmly. I've learned that the only opinion that matters is of those who truly care about you. And look, he gestured to the room, where they could see Martha laughing at something Dr. James had said, the house staff conversing relaxedly, the golden cranes dancing with the setting sun's light. I think we already have quite a family here. Lily, who was still hugging them both, suddenly jumped. Wait here, I need to get something. She ran out of the kitchen and returned moments later with her victory diary. I need to record this, it's the biggest victory of all. Emily and Michael looked at each other, a shared smile of understanding and love growing on their faces. There in that kitchen that smelled of carrot cake and promises, with a small girl diligently writing in her special diary, they understood that sometimes the greatest victories aren't those that can be measured or recorded. They are those that happen in the heart, when we finally find the courage to let love in, no matter what form it arrives in. The weeks that followed brought subtle changes to the mansion's routine. Emily continued to be Michael's dedicated caregiver during the day, maintaining the professionalism that characterized her. But the nights and weekends now had a different flavor, filled with shared dinners, movie sessions in the living room, and long conversations that often extended until Lily fell asleep on the sofa. On one of these nights, as Michael watched Emily carrying a sleeping Lily to the guest room that was now practically hers, an idea began to form in his mind. An idea that scared and excited him in equal measure. She's getting heavier, Emily commented upon returning, sitting next to Michael's chair. Soon I won't be able to carry her anymore. Emily, Michael began, his voice carrying a note of nervousness that she rarely heard. I've been thinking about something. This sounds serious, she joked, but her smile softened when she saw his expression. It is serious, he confirmed. This house, and it's too big for just one person. It always was, actually. But now, when you both aren't here, it seems empty, lifeless. Emily felt her heart accelerate, but maintained her calm. Michael, let me finish, he gently asked. I'm not proposing anything hasty. I know we need time, that there's a lot to consider. But what if you both came to live here, not as an employee and the employee's daughter, but as family? The silence that followed was filled only by the tick-tock of the old clock and the distant sound of crickets in the garden. I know it's a huge step, Michael continued when Emily didn't respond. And I understand if you think it's too soon, or too complicated with the whole situation. Michael, Emily gently interrupted him, it's not that. It's that I'm afraid. Afraid. Afraid of mixing things up, of Lily getting hurt if something goes wrong, of losing not just a relationship but also my job, my independence. Michael extended his hand, touching her face softly. Emily, you're the most independent person I know. Nothing will change that. And as for the job, I've thought about that too. What do you mean? Dr. James mentioned that he needs a specialized assistant at his clinic, someone with experience in specific care, with sensitivity to deal with patients in recovery. He was impressed with your work here, with your dedication. Emily blinked, surprised. You've already talked to him about this. Only superficially, Michael assured. I wanted to make sure there were options before proposing any change. The decision is yours, of course. You can continue being my caregiver if you prefer, or accept Dr. James's proposal, or do something completely different. The important thing is for you to know that you have choices. Silent tears began to run down Emily's face. You've thought of everything, haven't you? I tried, he smiled. I learned from a certain person the importance of planning things carefully. A noise from the hallway interrupted them. Lily was there, rubbing her eyes sleepily. "I can't sleep," she mumbled, dragging her favorite blanket. "What are you talking about?" Michael and Emily exchanged a complicit look before Emily signaled for her daughter to approach. "Come here, love," Emily called, accommodating Lily in her lap. "Uncle Michael was making a proposal for us." "What kind of proposal?" Lily asked. Now more awake. "Well," Michael began, smiling at the girl, "I was thinking that maybe you both could come live here. What do you think?" Lily's eyes widened. "Live here like forever?" "If you and your mother want to," Michael responded softly. Lily looked at Emily, then at Michael, then back at her mother. "Can we hang more cranes on the ceiling and make a garden just for me and—" "Lily," Emily gently interrupted her, "it's a big decision, love. We need to think carefully." "But Mom," Lily protested with the simple logic of children, "we already spend more time here than at home anyway. And Uncle Michael needs us, and we need him too, don't we?" Emily felt her heart melt with the simplicity and wisdom in her daughter's words. Michael, observing the two, felt a wave of love so intense it almost left him breathless. "Besides," Lily continued, now with a sleepy smile, "this is already our home. We just didn't know it yet." Emily hugged her daughter tightly, letting a few more tears escape. Michael moved closer, embracing them both in an awkward but meaningful hug. "So?" he asked softly. "What do you say?" Lily had already fallen asleep again, a serene smile on her little face. Emily looked at her daughter, at Michael, at the room that already carried so many precious memories. "I think," she responded with a choked but firm voice, "that Lily is right. Maybe this is already our home. We just needed time to realize it." Michael felt his heart expand with joy and gratitude. There, on that quiet night, with Lily sleeping and Emily smiling through tears, he understood that sometimes life's greatest gifts come disguised as challenges. His accident, which seemed to have destroyed everything, had actually opened the way for something much more precious, a true family. News of Emily and Lily's move to the mansion spread quickly. Martha, after an initial moment of maternal concern, eventually surrendered upon seeing the genuine happiness of her daughter and granddaughter. The house staff, who had already grown fond of Lily, received the news with discreet smiles and offers to help with the move. The transformation of the guest room into Lily's new space was a project that involved everyone. Michael insisted that the girl should have freedom to decorate as she wished, resulting in an explosion of colors and creativity that made an interesting contrast with the sobriety of the rest of the mansion. "Look, Uncle Michael, Lily," exclaimed one afternoon, dragging him in his wheelchair to see the latest addition to the room. "Rosa helped me make a curtain of cranes. Each one has a different color of the rainbow." Rosa, the housekeeper who previously barely spoke to Emily, now smiled proudly beside her little crafting partner. "The child has an impressive artistic gift," she commented, affectionately adjusting one of Lily's braids. Emily, who was observing the scene from the door, felt a wave of gratitude. It was as if Lily's love was contagious, melting even the most resistant hearts. "Mom," Lily called, interrupting her thoughts, "come see what we did on the ceiling." Emily entered the room and looked up. Dozens of fluorescent stars had been stuck to the ceiling, forming real constellations, another educational project that Michael had initiated with Lily. "It's beautiful, honey," she smiled, noticing how Michael watched her daughter with adoration. "But now it's time for your bath. Uncle Michael needs to do his afternoon exercises." "Oh, Mom," Lily pouted, "just 5 more minutes?" "Lily," Michael intervened softly, "how about we make a deal? You'll take your bath now, and after my exercises, we can all have dinner in the garden. What do you think?" The girl's eyes sparkled. "Can we use the garden table that Grandma Martha brought?" "Of course we can," he smiled. "And maybe if someone takes a nice bath and does their homework, we might even have that nighttime picnic you've been wanting." "With stargazing?" Lily asked hopefully. "With stargazing," Michael confirmed, exchanging a complicit look with Emily. After Lily skipped off toward the bathroom, followed by Rosa, Emily approached Michael. "You're spoiling her," she said, but her tone was affectionate. "Impossible," he responded, pulling her close. She was already perfect when she arrived here. I'm just appreciating." Emily leaned down to kiss him softly. "Thank you," she murmured. "For what?" "For loving my daughter as if she were your own, for giving us not just a roof, but a real home." Michael held her face between his hands. "Emily, you two have given me much more than I could ever repay. You gave me a reason to fight, to improve, to be a better person." An excited shout from the bathroom interrupted them. "Mom, the shower is making rainbows again." They laughed. Together, the familiarity of the moment warming their hearts. "You know," Michael commented as Emily prepared to go help Lily, "I was thinking of making some changes to the garden." "What kind of changes?" "Well, Lily mentioned that she wanted her own garden patch. I thought we could create a special space for her, with colorful flowers, maybe some vegetables, a place where she could learn about growth and care." Emily felt her eyes fill with tears. "How do you do that?" "Do what?" "Think of everything, of all the details that would make her happy." Michael smiled, that smile that now frequently appeared on his face. "It's easy to want to make happy those who taught us to be happy again." Another call from Lily echoed down the hallway, making them both laugh again. "Go," Michael said. "Our little scientist must be discovering another natural phenomenon in the bathroom." Emily leaned in for another quick kiss before leaving. On her way to the bathroom, she paused for a moment, observing the changes in the house. The colorful cranes that now decorated various rooms, Lily's drawings proudly displayed in frames, the recent photographs of the three of them beginning to occupy spaces previously reserved only for expensive artwork. The mansion, which previously seemed like a cold museum of successes and appearances, now pulsed with life and love. It was as if each room told a different story of transformation and healing. And there, between a child's laughter and garden plans, between physical therapy exercises and outdoor dinners, between colorful cranes and stars on the ceiling, a simple truth revealed itself. Sometimes you need to lose something you thought was essential to find what really matters. Autumn was coming to an end when Michael received news that would change the course of their lives even more. During a particularly intense physical therapy session, while Dr. James was conducting some sensitivity tests, something extraordinary happened. "Michael," the doctor called, his voice controlled but with a note of excitement. "Did you feel that?" Michael, who was focused on a conversation with Lily about her new school project, took a moment to register the question. "Feel what?" He stopped abruptly, his eyes widening. "Wait. That was..." Dr. James repeated the movement on his right foot. Michael gasped. It wasn't a strong sensation, but it was definitely there, a distinct tingling like small electric sparks. "Lily," he called, his voice trembling slightly. "Can you go call your mother, please? She should be in the kitchen with Rosa." The girl ran off, her footsteps echoing down the hallway. Emily arrived moments later, still drying her hands on her apron. "What happened?" she asked, immediately noticing the emotion-charged atmosphere in the room. "Emily," Michael began, but his voice failed. "Doctor," James took over. "We have movement," he announced with a smile. It's still very subtle, but Michael is beginning to regain sensitivity in his feet. Emily brought her hands to her mouth, tears immediately welling in her eyes. Lily, who had returned with her, began to jump with joy. "I knew it," the girl exclaimed. "I asked for this in my last golden crane." Michael extended his arms and Lily ran to his embrace. Emily approached too, enveloping them both. "I don't want to create unrealistic expectations," Dr. James gently cautioned. "The road is still long and we need to be realistic about the recovery process." "But is it possible?" Emily asked, her voice choked. "Could he walk again? With a lot of work, dedication and time?" "Yes, it's possible," the doctor answered. "The signs are promising. The returning sensitivity is an excellent indicator." Lily freed herself from the embrace and ran to her school backpack, which was in a corner of the room. "I need to record this in the victory diary," she announced with seriousness. "It's the most important victory so far." While the girl diligently wrote in her special diary, Michael held Emily's hand, his eyes overflowing with emotion. "Do you know what this means?" he asked softly. That we'll have to intensify the exercises? She responded with a smile through tears. That too, he laughed. But I was thinking of something else. Remember when you told me that some promises should only be made when we're sure we can keep them? Emily nodded, her heart accelerating with the direction the conversation was taking. Well, Michael continued, now I'm sure that one day I'll be able to do something I've been dreaming about for months. What? Lily asked, looking up from her diary. Dance with your mother, he replied, his eyes fixed on Emily. At our wedding. The sound of surprise that Lily made was followed by a squeal of joy. Dr. James smiled discreetly, beginning to pack his equipment to give more privacy to the moment. Michael. Emily began, but he gently interrupted her. I'm not asking now, he explained. Not officially, because when I ask, I want to do it right. I want to be standing. I want to be able to kneel. I want to do it the way you deserve. But I want you to know that this is what I'm striving for. This is what I'll fight for with all my strength. Lily, who had approached again, took both their hands. Can I be the flower girl? And can I make cranes in all colors for decoration? And... Lily, Emily interrupted her with a tearful laugh. He hasn't even officially asked yet. But he will, the girl affirmed with conviction. And it will be perfect, because Uncle Michael always does everything perfectly for us. Michael pulled Lily into another hug, feeling his heart almost explode with love. It's not me who makes things perfect, little one. It's you two who make my life perfect. Dr. James, who was finishing packing his things, cleared his throat softly. Well, I think my work here is done for today. Michael, I'll adjust the exercise program considering the new developments. And, he smiled, perhaps we should include some dance lessons in the recovery process. Everyone laughed, the joy of the moment filling every corner of the room. Lily ran to add more details to her record in the victory diary, now including elaborate plans for a future wedding. Emily helped Michael back to the wheelchair, her hands trembling slightly with the emotion of the moment. When he was settled, she leaned over and whispered in his ear, "Just so you know, when you're ready to ask, my answer is already yes." Michael felt his heart leap in his chest. In that moment, with the afternoon sun coming through the window, with Lily animatedly scribbling in her diary, with the smell of freshly baked cookies coming from the kitchen, he knew with absolute certainty, some miracles don't happen in grand, dramatic gestures. They happen in small moments, in small victories, in sincere smiles and in gazes full of love. And there in that room that had witnessed so many transformations, another small miracle was unfolding, not just in his feet that were beginning to awaken, but in his heart that each day learned new ways to love. News of Michael's recovery of sensitivity in his legs spread quickly among family and friends. To everyone's surprise, one of the first people to react was Eleanor, who appeared at the mansion on a Saturday morning, carrying an old box in her arms. Lily was the one who received her, opening the door with her usual joy. "Grandma Ellie," she exclaimed, using the nickname she had created for Eleanor during one of her previous visits. Visits that, though still tense, had become more frequent in recent weeks. Eleanor, who was still getting used to the girl's spontaneity, sketched a hesitant smile. "Good morning, Lily. Are your parents home?" The use of the word parents didn't go unnoticed by Emily, who had just arrived at the entrance hall. There was a time when Eleanor refused to even acknowledge her presence in the house. "Mrs. Bradford," Emily greeted politely. "Michael is in the garden, supervising the installation of Lily's new garden patch. Please," the older woman asked, her voice surprisingly soft, "call me Eleanor." Emily nodded, feeling that something important was happening there. Lily, always sensitive to changes in atmosphere, took Eleanor's hand. "Come, Grandma Ellie. I want to show you my flowers. Uncle Michael, Daddy, let me choose all the colors." In the garden, Michael was watching the workers finish the small space that would be Lily's particular realm. When he saw his mother approaching, guided by a chattering Lily, he felt a mixture of apprehension and hope. "Mother," he greeted, noticing the box in her arms. "What a surprise." Eleanor looked around, observing the changes in the garden that was once a showcase of perfectly trimmed topiaries, and now displayed colorful beds and more natural spaces. "When I heard the news about your recovery," she began, her voice betraying a rare emotion, "I went to the attic of our old house. I found this." She opened the box, revealing dozens of paper cranes, yellowed by time but still perfectly folded. "They're beautiful," Lily exclaimed, approaching to see better. "Do you make cranes too, Grandma Ellie?" "No, dear," Eleanor replied, her eyes fixed on Michael. "Your father made them." Michael felt his throat tighten. I didn't remember that." "You were 7 years old," Eleanor continued, carefully removing one of the paper birds. "You were in the hospital with severe pneumonia. The doctors were concerned. Your father, always so controlled, so strong, spent entire nights making these cranes. He said he had read about a Japanese legend that 1,000 cranes granted wishes." Emily, who was observing the scene in silence, saw tears forming in Eleanor's eyes. "Did he make exactly 1,000? Lily asked, fascinated. "No," Eleanor smiled sadly. "You got better before he reached 1,000. But he kept all the ones he made, and I kept them after he passed away." Michael extended his hand, touching one of the cranes with reverence. "I never knew." "Your father," Eleanor continued, her voice choked, "was like you, Michael. He kept his feelings so deeply buried that sometimes he forgot they existed. But they were there. They always were." Lily, with the unique wisdom of children, picked up one of the cranes and offered it to Michael. "Now you have cranes from your father and cranes from your daughter," she said simply. Michael looked at the girl, then at his mother, then at Emily. "Lily, you called me your father." "Well," she shrugged, but her eyes shone. "You are, aren't you? You take care of me, love me, teach me things. That's what a dad does, right?" Eleanor made a sound that was half sob, half laugh. "She's right, son, and I apologize for not seeing it sooner, for not understanding that family. A family is much more than blood and traditions." Emily approached, placing one hand on Michael's shoulder and another on Lily's. "Family is who chooses to stay," she said softly, "who chooses to love, even when it's difficult." "Like the cranes," Lily suddenly exclaimed. "They're different. Some are old, some are new, some are golden, others are simple, but they're all special." Michael pulled Lily into his lap, feeling tears stream down his face. "Yes, little one, exactly like the cranes." Eleanor observed the scene for a moment before speaking again. "Michael, Emily, I brought these cranes not just as a memento. I brought them as a blessing for you both, for this family you've built." Lily clapped with joy. "Does that mean you'll help make cranes for the wedding too?" "Lily!" Emily and Michael exclaimed. Together, but Eleanor laughed, a sound that none of them was accustomed to hearing. "Yes, dear," she answered, surprising everyone. "I'd love to help. After all, that's what grandmothers do, isn't it?" That afternoon, as Lily taught Eleanor how to make modern cranes with colored paper, as Michael practiced his exercises with renewed determination, as Emily organized a special snack for everyone, something magical was happening in that garden. Bridges were being built, not of concrete or steel, but of paper folded with love, of words spoken with sincerity, of small but significant gestures. And each crane, whether yellowed by time or brilliant in its newness, told a story of transformation, of forgiveness, of love that transcends expectations and prejudices. Summer arrived, bringing with it not just the heat, but also significant progress in Michael's recovery. After months of intensive physical therapy and absolute dedication, he had reached an important milestone. He could stand and take a few steps with the support of special crutches. On a particularly significant morning, Michael was in the office that now served as an exercise room, preparing for a special session. Dr. James had arrived earlier, bringing a new equipment that would allow greater independence in the exercises. "Ready?" the doctor asked, adjusting the apparatus. Michael nodded, his face showing determination. Emily, who was at his side as always, squeezed his hand gently. "Lily will be devastated to have missed this," she commented, trying to ease the tension of the moment. The girl was at school participating in a special event. Actually, Michael smiled mysteriously, that's exactly why I chose this time. Before Emily could question, he continued, I want my first truly independent steps to be a surprise for her. Emily felt her eyes fill with tears. Even in the most important moments of his recovery, Michael always thought about how to make something special for Lily. With Dr. James's help, Michael positioned himself in the apparatus. It was a structure that offered support, but required him to maintain balance on his own. His hands gripped the sidebars firmly, and slowly he began to move. The first step was shaky, unsure. The second, a little more firm. On the third, Emily held her breath. It was different from other attempts. There was more control, more confidence. Excellent, Michael, Dr. James exclaimed, attentively observing each movement. Your coordination has improved significantly. Michael continued, focused on each step. Drops of sweat trickled down his face, but there was a gleam of determination in his eyes that Emily knew well. It was the same gleam she saw when he helped Lily with complicated school projects, when he dedicated himself to learning to make perfect cranes, when he silently promised to be better each day. Emily, he called, his voice slightly breathless, can you open that drawer, please? The third one. Intrigued, she obeyed. Inside the drawer was a small blue velvet box. Take it, he instructed, still maintaining his focus on the steps. With trembling hands, Emily opened the box. Inside, a delicate white gold ring shined, with small sapphires forming a pattern that resembled crane wings. Michael, she whispered, her heart accelerating. I said that when I asked it would be while standing, he spoke, taking a few more firm steps, that I would do it the way you deserve. Dr. James smiled, discreetly moving away to give the couple more privacy, but staying close enough to ensure Michael's safety. I know I'm not fully recovered yet, Michael continued, each word synchronized with his careful steps. That the road is still long, but I've learned that life doesn't wait for perfection. It happens in imperfect moments, in attempts, in small victories. Emily approached, her tears now flowing freely. You taught me, he continued, that strength isn't never falling but always getting up. That love isn't about grand gestures but about being present every day. You and Lily, you taught me to truly live. He paused, adjusting his position in the apparatus to face her. Emily Parker, his voice trembled slightly. Would you give me the honor of building all our tomorrows together? Of officially being the family we already are in our hearts? Will you marry me? Before Emily could respond, a sound of surprise came from the door. Lily was there, still in her school uniform, her eyes wide with emotion. Lily, Emily and Michael exclaimed together, shouldn't you be at school? The event ended early, the girl explained, entering the room with hesitant steps as if afraid to break the magic of the moment. And Grandma Ellie picked me up. She knew. Michael smiled. Of course she knew. She was the one who helped me choose the ring, and who suggested that today would be the perfect day. Lily ran to hug them both, careful not to unbalance. Michael. So? What's the answer, Mum? Emily looked at the ring in her hands, at Michael still standing in the apparatus, at her daughter with eyes shining with expectation. Her entire world was there in that room waiting for a word. Yes, she responded, her voice choked but firm. 1,000 times yes. Lily jumped with joy, while Michael, with Dr. James's help, sat in his chair so Emily could put on the ring. When their lips met in a soft kiss, Lily applauded. Now yes, the girl exclaimed. Now we're officially a family. Little one, Michael smiled, pulling her close. We've always been a family. This is just putting it on paper, like a crane. That finally takes shape after all the right folds. Emily laughed through tears. You and your crane analogies. I learned from the best, he responded, looking significantly at Lily. Doctor. James, who had witnessed the entire scene, gently cleared his throat. Well, I think now we have a new goal for physical therapy. A wedding waltz, perhaps. The three laughed, and Lily immediately began planning out loud. We can make cranes. I have all colors, and I can help Daddy train for the dance. And while Lily continued her enthusiastic planning, Emily and Michael exchanged a look full of love and promises. There, in that room that had witnessed so many struggles and victories, Another chapter of their story was beginning to be written. News of the engagement spread quickly, but this time there were no malicious rumors or disapproving looks. Michael's transformation was visible to everyone, not just physical, but primarily in his way of being. The cold, controlling man had given way to someone who smiled more, who allowed himself to show affection, who was proud to be seen as Lily's father. A particularly busy afternoon, as Emily organized some wedding details with Martha and Eleanor's help, a scene that would have been unthinkable before, Michael was in his office when he received an unexpected visit. Victoria. "I heard about the engagement," she said, after initial greetings, seeming genuinely serene. I came to wish you happiness." Michael observed his ex-fiancée with curiosity. Victoria seemed different, more relaxed, less concerned with appearances. "Thank you," he responded. "Sincerely, that means a lot." "You know," she continued, sitting in one of the armchairs, "it took me a while to understand, but now I see clearly. We would never have worked out, Michael." "No," he agreed softly. "We were too similar back then, too concerned with control, with status, and now look at you." Victoria smiled, a genuine smile, standing, making incredible progress, with a family that loves you for who you are, not for what you own. Before Michael could respond, Lily burst into the office, carrying yet another of her art projects. "Dad, look what Oh!" She stopped upon seeing Victoria. "Sorry, I didn't know you had a visitor." Victoria observed the interaction with interest. The naturalness with which Lily called Michael Dad, the way he immediately lit up at seeing her, it was something she had never been able to provoke in him. "It's okay, little one," Michael smiled. "Come here, I want you to meet a friend." Lily approached, still holding her craft work. "You're Ms. Victoria, right? Mom talks about you sometimes." "Really?" Victoria asked, surprised. "And what does she say?" "That sometimes we need to lose something to find something better," Lily responded with the honesty characteristic of children. "Like when I lost my favorite crane in the park, but then learned to make much prettier ones." Victoria felt her eyes unexpectedly fill with tears. "Your mother is a very wise woman." "Yes," Lily enthusiastically agreed, "and she makes the best carrot cake in the world. Want to try some? She just made one for the wedding planning meeting." Before Victoria could respond, Emily appeared at the door. "Lily, I was looking for you. Grandma Ellie wants your opinion on the flower colors and, oh, Victoria, what a nice surprise." What followed was something no one could have predicted. Months ago, Victoria was invited to join the planning meeting. Lily insisted on showing her all the cranes she had made, explaining the meaning of each color. Eleanor and Martha received her with kindness, and soon all were involved in discussions about floral arrangements and music for the ceremony. Michael observed everything from his chair, now positioned near the group, feeling a peace he had never experienced before. Emily approached, sitting on the arm of the chair. "Is everything okay?" she asked softly. "Better than okay," he responded, taking her hand and kissing the engagement ring. "You know what Lily told me the other day? That sometimes the best stories are those that don't go as planned." Emily smiled, watching her daughter, teaching Victoria how to make a perfect crane, while the grandmothers animatedly discussed wedding traditions. "She's right," Emily agreed. "If someone had told me a year ago that we would be here today, planning our wedding with Victoria, giving suggestions about flowers and your mother learning to make cranes." "You wouldn't believe it," Michael completed, laughing. "But that's what love does, isn't it? Transforms the impossible into possible." Lily approached them, her eyes shining with excitement. "Dad, Miss Victoria had an incredible idea. What if we made a giant origami crane to put at the altar? She knows an artist." "Who can help us?" Michael and Emily exchanged an amused look. "A giant crane?" Michael asked, pretending to seriously consider. "Yes," Lily continued, "and we can hang it really high with lights inside to make it look like it's really flying." "You know what?" Michael smiled. "I think it's a wonderful idea. After all, it was the cranes that united us, wasn't it?" "Actually," Emily gently corrected, "it was love that united us. The cranes just showed the way." Victoria, who had approached to hear the conversation, smiled. "You three, you're really special together. Now I understand." "Want to know the best part?" Lily asked, taking Victoria's hand. "There's still room for more special people in our family. Grandma Ellie always says that love is like a crane. The more you fold, the more beautiful it becomes." The laughter that followed filled the environment with genuine joy. There on that sunny afternoon, amid wedding plans and paper cranes, another important lesson was revealed. Sometimes the true miracle isn't in getting everything we planned, but in discovering that what we received is much better than we could ever have imagined. The eve of the wedding arrived with that peculiar mixture of anxiety and joy that characterizes life's great moments. The mansion's garden had been transformed into a fairy tale setting. Thousands of paper cranes in blue and gold tones danced softly in the afternoon breeze, creating a spectacle of light and movement. The immense origami crane, Victoria's suggestion, that Lily had embraced with such enthusiasm, majestically hovered over the spot where the ceremony would be held. Delicate lights had been installed inside it, ready to create a magical effect at nightfall. Michael was in his office practicing the dance steps once more with Dr. James's help. After months of intensive physical therapy and specific training, he had progressed to the point of being able to dance supported by a special cane, a joint gift from Eleanor and Martha. "One more time," he asked, determined to make each movement perfect. "Michael," Dr. James smiled, "you've mastered all the steps. You're more than prepared." "It needs to be perfect," Michael insisted, adjusting his posture. "Emily deserves a perfect first dance." A soft laugh came from the door. Lily was there, wearing her new flower-patterned pajamas, an early gift from her heart godfather, as she had begun to call Dr. James. "Dad," she said, entering the room, "Mom always says that perfection isn't doing everything right. It's doing it with love." Michael stopped, looking at his daughter with admiration. "When did you get so wise, little one?" "I learned from you all," she answered simply, approaching for a hug. "And also from the cranes. You know, even the ones that turn out crooked are special because they were made with care." Dr. James observed the scene with an emotional smile. "Your daughter is right, Michael. Tomorrow will be perfect not because of the dance steps, but because of what it represents." Lily released herself from the hug suddenly. "Oh, I almost forgot why I came here. Grandma Ellie sent me to say that everything is ready in the guest room. Mom is going to sleep there tonight for good luck." Michael smiled. It was one of the many traditions that their mothers had insisted on maintaining. The bride and groom shouldn't see each other on the eve of the wedding. Emily had agreed more to please the two than out of superstition. "And you, little one? Will you stay with your mother or with me tonight?" Lily made a thoughtful expression that Michael immediately recognized. It was the same one Emily made when considering something important. "Actually," she began, "Grandma Martha said I could sleep in her room. That way you both can have some time alone before being separated until tomorrow." Michael felt his heart melt. Even in the smallest details, his daughter thought about their well-being. "But before that," Lily continued, taking something from her pajama pocket, "I want to give you this." It was a golden crane, different from all the others she had made. This one had small words written on its wings in careful calligraphy. "They're all the special moments we've lived together," she explained. "From the day you let me see the buttons on your wheelchair until today. Mom helped me with some difficult words." Michael took the crane with trembling hands, reading the small inscriptions. Each moment was there. The first time he helped her. With homework, the day she first called him Dad. The afternoon they planted flowers together in the garden. "Lily," he began, but his voice failed with emotion. "There's space on the wings for more memories," she smiled. "Because tomorrow is just the beginning, isn't it?" Dr. James, perceiving the intensity of the moment, discreetly headed to the door. "I think that's enough practice for today. See you tomorrow, Michael. And Lily. Excellent work with the crane." After the doctor left, Lily snuggled in Michael's lap, something she still did frequently, even having grown so much in recent months. "Dad?" she called softly. "Yes, little one?" Are you happy? Really happy? Michael looked at his daughter, at the crane in his hands, at the garden through the window where thousands of other cranes danced in the night breeze. Happier than I ever imagined possible, he answered with sincerity. And do you know why? Why? Because I have you and your mother. Because I learned that family isn't something you inherit. It's something you build with love, patience, and sometimes with many paper cranes. Lily laughed, hugging him tighter. Did you know that Grandma Ellie is learning to make origami cranes on the internet? She said she wants to make a special one for your birthday. Michael felt his eyes fill with tears. His mother, always so formal and traditional, learning origami on the internet. It was one more proof of the transformations that love can provoke. Dad? Lily called again, her voice already sleepy. Yes? Tomorrow will be the happiest day of our lives, won't it? Michael kissed the top of his daughter's head, feeling his heart overflowing with love. No, little one. Tomorrow will be just another happy day among many we've already had, and many we will still have. Because true happiness isn't in big events, it's in small moments like this, here with you. Lily smiled, her eyes beginning to close. Like the cranes, each fold is important. To make the bird fly, Michael held her closer, watching the garden lights playing through the window. Tomorrow would be a special day, yes, but today, this quiet moment with his daughter was equally precious. Because in the end, it's these simple moments that build the most lasting memories, the most beautiful stories, the truest loves. The wedding morning dawned with a golden light that seemed to have been specially ordered for the occasion. The mansion's garden gleamed under the soft sun, thousands of cranes sparkling like fallen stars from the sky. In the guest room, Emily was being prepared by Victoria, who had offered to do her makeup, while Martha and Eleanor gave the final touches to her dress. Lily, already dressed like a little princess, observed everything with wonder-filled eyes. "Mom," she whispered, approaching Emily, "you look like a queen from a fairy tale." Emily smiled at her daughter through the mirror. The dress, elegant in its simplicity, had been chosen with everyone's help, including Victoria, who had insisted on taking them to the best boutique in the city. "Something's missing," Victoria declared after finishing the makeup. With a mysterious smile, she took a small box from her purse, a gift from someone who learned that sometimes we need to lose so others can gain. Inside the box was a delicate pair of sapphire earrings, perfectly matching the engagement ring that Michael had chosen. "Victoria," Emily began emotional. "Please," Victoria gently interrupted her, "accept it. It's my way of thanking you for showing me that there's love much greater than pride and appearances." As Victoria helped Emily put on the earrings, Lily pulled something from a small bag she was carrying. "I have a gift too," she announced. It was a white crane delicately decorated with small pearls. "It's for your bouquet. It has a special wish inside it." "What wish is that, love?" Emily asked, carefully taking the crane. "I can't tell you," Lily laughed. "Otherwise it won't come true. But don't worry. It's a wish that's already happening." The other side of the mansion, Michael was preparing with Dr. James's help and a few close friends. His special cane had been decorated with a discreet blue ribbon matching the decoration. "Nervous?" Dr. James asked, helping him adjust his tie. "Anxious," Michael corrected with a smile. "I can't wait to see Emily and to show her that I can dance without help." "You'll do very well," the doctor assured. "But remember, don't push beyond what's necessary. Today is a day to celebrate, not to prove anything to anyone." A soft knock on the door interrupted the conversation. It was Eleanor, already with tears in her eyes. "Son," she called softly. "May I come in?" Michael nodded, watching his mother approach with something in her hands, an old box that he immediately recognized. "They're your father's cranes," she explained, opening the box. I thought maybe some of them could be part of the decoration, as a way for him to be present too." Michael felt his throat tighten with emotion. "That would be perfect, Mother." Eleanor began to distribute the yellowed cranes among the newer, colorful ones, creating a surprisingly harmonious effect. "You know," she commented as she worked, "your father would be very proud. not for your success in business or the size of the mansion, but for having found your true strength. In the garden, guests were beginning to arrive, marveling at the unique decoration. The large origami crane shone under the sun, its internal lights creating delicate patterns on its translucent wings. Lily moved among the guests like a little hostess, explaining the meaning of the crane colors and occasionally distributing some she had specially made for the occasion. Finally, the moment arrived. The music began, a soft melody that Lily had helped choose. Michael was at the improvised altar, supported by his cane, his heart beating strongly with anticipation. And then Emily appeared. Her dress captured the sunlight like crane wings, and in her bouquet, Lily's small paper bird shone among the flowers. Martha led her down the path covered with petals, both with tears in their eyes. Lily came right behind, spreading more petals and occasionally stopping to adjust the train of her mother's dress, a task she had insisted on assuming. When Emily reached the altar, Michael extended his free hand to her. Their eyes met, and in that moment everything else seemed to disappear. "You're beautiful," he whispered. "And you're standing," she responded with an emotional smile. Lily, who was now between them, held the rings, each decorated with a small crane engraved on its interior. The ceremony was simple and moving. When it came time for the vows, Michael surprised everyone by releasing his cane, standing firm with only Emily's support. "Emily," he began, his voice firm despite the emotion, "you taught me that sometimes we need to fall to learn to fly, that strength isn't the absence of weakness, but the courage to move forward even when the path seems impossible. You and Lily brought color to my life when everything was in shades of gray. And today, standing here, I promise to spend the rest of my days returning all the love, joy, and hope that you two have given me." Emily, with tears streaming down her face, responded, "Michael, you showed us that family isn't something we find by chance. It's something we build with love, patience, and, yes, with many paper cranes. I promise to be by your side in every step of this journey, celebrating each victory, however small, and facing each challenge with the same strength you've shown us you have." Lily, who couldn't contain her joy, spontaneously added, "And I promise to make colorful cranes forever, so our home will always be filled with love and joy." The emotional laughter of the guests mingled with applause when the bride and groom finally kissed. Above them, the large origami crane began to shine with all its lights, as if blessing that unique union. The wedding reception was in full swing in the mansion's garden, now illuminated by hundreds of small lights that mixed with the gleam of the cranes. The moment of the newlyweds' first dance was approaching, and a special energy hung in the air. Lily was seated between her grandmothers, her little hands squeezing theirs in anticipation. She was the only one besides Dr. James who had followed all of Michael's secret rehearsals, all the hours of practice, all the determination to make this moment possible. "Ladies and gentlemen," the master of ceremonies announced, "the time has come for the newlyweds' first dance." Emily, who didn't know the extent of Michael's progress in dancing, expected a simple moment, perhaps just a gentle sway to the sound of the music. When he stood up, leaning on his decorated cane, she prepared to support him. "Trust me," Michael whispered, guiding her to the center of the dance floor. The music began. "The Way You Look Tonight," the same melody that Lily used to hum during the physical therapy sessions. To everyone's surprise, especially Emily's, Michael handed his cane to Dr. James and took Emily in his arms with confidence. "Michael," she whispered, emotional. "Shh," he smiled, beginning to guide her in smooth but firm movements. "Just dance with me." And they danced. It wasn't an elaborate waltz, but it had its own beauty. The beauty of a love that overcomes limitations, that transforms the impossible into possible. Michael led with confidence, each step a proof of his determination and recovery. Lily couldn't contain her joy. "Look," she exclaimed to her grandmothers, "Dad did it, he practiced so hard." Eleanor and Martha, both with tears in their eyes, watched the couple dancing under the light of the large origami crane. It was a scene that no one who knew Michael before the accident could have imagined possible. Victoria, who was watching, from a corner of the garden, felt her heart fill with a surprising joy. There was no more resentment or regret, only gratitude for having been a part, however small, of this story of love and overcoming. During the dance, Emily noticed something shining inside the large crane above them. "What's that?" she asked. Michael smiled mysteriously. "Lily," he called. "I think it's time." The girl jumped from her seat and ran to a special remote control that was hidden among the flowers. With a radiant smile, she pressed a button. The interior of the large crane illuminated completely, revealing hundreds of small golden cranes suspended, each carrying a photo, special moments from their story, from the first tense day at the May mansion to Emily's emotional smile when seeing her wedding dress. "Each crane has a memory of us," Lily explained, returning to her parents. "Dad helped me choose the photos, and Miss Victoria helped organize them up there." Emily felt tears streaming down her face again. There were all the moments. Lily showing her first crane to Michael, the first time he managed to stand at the parallel bars, the day they planted the garden together, the morning Lily first called him Dad. "But there's more," Lily continued, grabbing another remote control. When she pressed the second button, small lights began to blink among the photographic cranes, forming words that floated and gently changed. "Love is like a paper crane. It needs time, care, and patience to take shape. But when it's ready, it flies higher than any other bird." Michael stopped dancing for a moment, pulling Lily to join them. "This last part," he explained to Emily, "was her idea, our little poet." Emily hugged her daughter tightly. "It's perfect, my love, absolutely perfect." "So," Lily asked, her eyes shining, "can I dance with you?" Michael and Emily exchanged a complicit look before responding in unison, "Of course you can." And so, under the large origami crane that told their story in lights and photographs, the family danced together. Michael, who months before could barely accept help for the most basic tasks, now twirled with his wife and daughter, his heart as light as the cranes dancing in the night breeze. The guests watched emotionally, many of them remembering the Michael from before, cold, distant, controlling. The transformation they were witnessing wasn't just physical, it was a complete metamorphosis of the heart. Dr. James, holding Michael's decorated cane, smiled with professional and personal pride. He had followed every step of this journey, every small victory that led to this moment. "Doctor," Lily approached him during a break in the dancing, "thank you for helping Dad make this surprise for Mom." "Dear," he replied, caressing her hair, "your father did all the hard work. I just gave a few tips." Lily smiled, that smile that illuminated her entire face. "Do you know what wish I put in the crane in Mom's bouquet?" "What?" "I wished that we would never forget that the best miracles happen slowly, like cranes being folded with love." Dr. James felt his eyes fill with tears. "Lily, you are much wiser than your age suggests." The girl shrugged, still smiling. "It's because I learned from the best teachers. My dad taught me that true strength is never giving up, and my mom taught me that true love is believing even when it seems impossible." And with those words, Lily ran back to